In this video, we're going to really get a better understanding of justify content and align items, which allow you to center or push items all the way to the start or end of containers. Now, the reason why it's not just called vertical align or horizontal align is because Flexbox and React Native need to consider changes of orientation and different flex directions. After all, if I have a vertically aligned item on my phone, but I'm holding it straight up in the portrait position, as soon as I change my orientation, that vertical line is no longer vertical. Suddenly it's horizontal, just like it is here. Now, the behavior that we see on almost all dynamic applications is that if we reorient our device, top to bottom components will still render top to bottom, no matter how we shift our orientation. So think of justify content as the main axis. Let's return to experimenting with To-Do Master to experiment with justify content. So I'm just going to minimize this window. There's our application. Here's our code. So justify content has three options that we want to consider right now, which are flex start, center, and flex end. We can take advantage of these properties to align our text or our items within our containers. So let's fix those text components really quickly because they're kind of an eyesore on the top left of our components. Let's modify the item container and give it a justify content property with a value of center. So let's say justify content is center. Now you can see that everything is aligned to the center when we go top to bottom, because our flex direction, without specifying it as row, is default to the columnar direction, which is top to bottom. So I'm saying justify content center, or my main axis, I want everything to be aligned to the center. So everything's going to be center in a top to bottom flex direction. And then of course, there's also flex end, which we discussed earlier. And now everything's going to jump to the bottom of our main axis. And then we have flex start, which is the default React Native and Flex blocks behavior. Now remember how we discussed earlier that dynamic applications will keep those main axes correct, no matter how we orient our application. So I'm going to reorient this application now to the landscape mode by simply pressing Command right arrow. And there we go. Everything is still in the flex start to the top. If I change it to the center, and check it out, it's in the middle of our main axis. So I'm going to put it back in portrait mode by pressing Command left arrow. And there we go. Now there's another property that we can play with, which is the align items property. And then we'll say center for this one. You can think of the align items property as a perpendicular axis to the justify content main axis. Align items take similar properties, center, flex end, and flex start. So now that I added this center value, everything is now also aligned left to right, which is our perpendicular axis in the columnar flex direction. Let's go ahead and check out flex start and flex end really quickly. So flex start is the default behavior, and flex end is the opposite of that default behavior, which can go all the way to the right. Cool. Now we have a better understanding of justify content and align items. We also have a really good understanding of Flexbox overall, and now we're ready to go ahead and continue building our To-Do Master application. So really quickly, let's take out all of this extra styling and jump back to the To-Do Master styling. So within here, remember we had a justify content of center, as well as the align items of center. And then within here, we only had the text component, which simply said To-Do Master. And there's our familiar application. All right, let's continue building.